Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Talking About Birds, the only podcast that, like the Cardinals, keeps an old guy in the rotation beyond his effectiveness. My name is Nate Heininger, and I am joined this week by said old guy who roasted himself with that submission, Daniel Shoptaw, C70. Thank you so much for being here.
Welcome, Nate. Thanks a lot.
If you have an idea for the opening bit, text or leave us a voicemail at 848-48-BIRD. So, like I said, Daniel submitted that one on his own behalf as he was going to be guesting on the show. So thank you for that, Daniel. And the line is always open for bits, roasting us, or take a shot at Daniel too. But we love you in the rotation, Daniel. Thank you for being here tonight. Hambone is up in Canada, putting the white in Great White North, fishing. I think I don't know. I fished with him. It mostly involves him laying on his back in the boat, having given up within the first couple hours. I think he cares a lot more about it in Canada than he does when he's with us in St. Louis. But I think it's good to get a different voice back on the show and have you back with us.
Yeah, I mean, Ben and I are contractually obligated not to be anywhere close to each other, so this is the only time I could come on.
Well, I had to sit between you guys at the blogger day. I had to separate the two of you frequently. I mean, at this point, the beef is real, and we're not talking Chicago here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. If this could be Arby's, I mean, that's what we're talking about.
Oh, God.
We've got the meats.
I'm so hungry. I could eat at Arby's. Do you like Arby's? I haven't had Arby's in a long time, but I feel like it's gotten a bad rap. I feel like Arby's might be better. What's your take on Arby's?
Arby's is fine. I don't eat it very often, but when I do, it doesn't seem to be too bad. I don't. I mean, I know the reputation, but it hasn't ever seemed to bother me too much.
What's your go-to if you're getting fast food? What's your go-to?
Often it is Sonic because it's right around the corner from up here. Either that or it's one of the Mexican restaurants or something like that. But probably nice. Very Sonic is like literally like 2 minutes from my house. So
nice. Yeah. I love a good Sonic. They got a lot of good drinks there too. Yeah. Yep. That was a big one for us in high school. There's one down the street from me also that I've hit up a few times. It's across from the Home Depot, and I will self-justify, I'm doing a lot of work today. I bought a hammer, I gotta have a working man's meal, you know what I mean?
Exactly. If you're gonna be doing that kind of stuff, you gotta prepare.
I need an 800 calorie drink and some burgers and fries to go with it. But anyway, I guess it's an interesting week for Cardinals right now because we're recording right in the midst of the All-Star break. So there's not a lot going on. But we did have the draft, which we'll talk about a little bit, and we're going to talk about some of the upcoming series and the trade deadline. But I was curious about your overall take on the festivities of the last few days, the All-Star game and the Home Run Derby. I guess, first of all, did you watch either of them?
I didn't, in part because, we cord cutted a long time ago. And so those are not channels, since they're not streaming them through MLB app, which they should. I mean, I've noticed the Saturday games on Fox tend to be streamed through there and not blacked out, but not things like that. So I didn't watch them. I used to be really, really big on the All-Star game. It has faded over time, but, kind of kept track of it online and things of that nature. It was, it seems like it was a good thing. I saw some of the, the Hank Aaron tribute was awesome. There was a lot of good things in it. And then there was a lot of things that basically made a mockery of the game. So, I mean, you've got it however you want it.
Yeah, on your first point, I've said this a ton, but this is the season to talk about it. I think baseball thinks the biggest problem with baseball is the game. I think the biggest problem with baseball is how it makes itself available and presents itself to fans, and how it treats players who this part has gotten a lot better over the last handful of years, but just how it treats players who want to be personalities. But like, it is insane to me that the home run derby it should be free on every single platform. You know what I mean? You should be able to Google or whatever home run derby, and it's like right there. You just watch it right on the search page. MLB should be spending whatever money possible to put that thing front and center for everybody. It's like, when you think about baseball, whether you're a diehard fan or just like a casual, observer, or someone who doesn't even really know anything about the sport, like, the home run is like the thing, right? Like, it's the thing everyone wants in baseball is home runs. You want to watch home runs. It's the most fun. And we have a whole event about these monster humans hitting monster home runs. O'Neal Cruz hit a 513-foot home run. It's, absolute bomb. And yet it's not even on their paid streaming service.
Yeah.
Like, even massive fan of the sport, creator for the sport, don't have easy access to the home run derby. I'm in the same boat as you. But I happen to be with my family who, we had like a login to, through whatever, and I was able to watch it through something or another. But like, normally I can't watch it, or I'm, doing that. Hey, can someone give me their charter login, or, whatever it is. It drives me absolutely insane that it's not everywhere. Like, I get it, contracts, they want to make money off of it, but it should be a loss leader for the sport. You know what I mean?
I do wonder if, we've heard a lot of talk about baseball trying to put together some sort of national package for 2028 with a lot of teams and a lot of things. I wonder if that's not going to be something that gets kind of absorbed into that as well. There's nothing else. Their contract with ESPN is lapsing, so home run derby could be free even next year in theory. But, I don't know. I think that will be interesting. Obviously they're, if they can charge for it, they're going to, because that's MLB, but I wouldn't be surprised if not in 2 or 3 or 4 years, at least if you have the MLB TV, you'll be able to watch it.
Yeah, I suspect that there's probably a lot of people in MLB who have the exact same opinion that I do. I can't imagine that it's a particularly new opinion, but like, I don't know. I've assumed it's a contract thing that forces them to put it behind this paywall. My opinion is that, every contract has a price, right? And I think they should be buying it out, or whatever they got to do to make that thing front and center, because, it's a little long. It's the home run derby still hasn't found its perfect format. And they've been tinkering with it, adding different things, and I think they're getting close with it. But at the end of the day, it's pretty fun, and it's a good way for the players to showcase their personalities. You got all these guys out on the field. You see like the Dominican players support for each other, which is always a ton of fun. You got Vlad Guerrero just out there, going insane, supporting people. Like, it's a really fun part of the game. So I don't know, but the All-Star game itself, like you said, this is kind of a topic that's been beaten to death at this point, but I don't really know what they do to make it any better. I think that it's kind of fun to just see all the names together, but it is always a little tricky when it's like just an exhibition matchup, and you can kind of sometimes tell that not everyone has their heart in it. But I don't know. I'm glad they brought back the old. Now everyone wears their team's jerseys.
Yes.
That's a good reversal. And I'm kind of contentious. Like, yeah, it's kind of fun. If you can watch it. If not, it's like you're not missing much.
Yeah, I have old man opinions about the All-Star game, and in part, it's just looking through the box score today, and a number of things stood out. One was the fact that it wasn't real anymore. The box score had created people. Yeah, pitcher 1 and pitcher 2, that were because of the swing off and things like that. The box score didn't foot, things of that nature, which irks me because I'm that way. But also, the starters are getting maybe 2 at bats. And these are the people that we make such a big deal out about who's starting the All-Star game. And a guy that comes off, Brendan Donovan got more time than somebody that got voted in. I mean, right now, if you want to play in the All-Star game, you don't want to be elected. And I look back, of course, we think about, Cardinals have history in the All-Star game with, Stan Musial hitting a walk-off home run in the 13th inning. Can you imagine an All-Star game now with somebody that played 13 innings? It's just insane. But even, I looked at 50 years ago, and it was about the same way, 3-4 at-bats. Even, I looked right before the strike, 94. Greg Maddux threw three innings to start that game. It just feels to me, I looked at the box score last night, and I think it was the National League had used 13 pitchers in 9 innings. That's just, it's overkill to some degree.
Yeah. So the pitcher thing is a problem because no one wants to get hurt, and they want
right.
But a big and maybe this a big focus now of the All-Star game is see as many guys as possible, right? That's why it's every team gets a guy, which I get. I don't know. You do?
Yeah, because there's been like this year. Donovan probably makes it anyway. Yeah. But, if not, then you go to it with no Cardinal. And I get the one because we've seen times where the Cardinals have been only had that one, or when I was growing up, kind of formative times, Ozzie might have been the only guy. He started, but he was the only Cardinal there. So I get that part, but I also think that it used to be it was an honor to be selected to the All-Star game, and if you played in it, great. And now it is. You have to get into the All-Star game, and that's why you have these huge rosters that have to jam into 9 innings.
Yeah. Well, and the frequent changing is kind of fun if you want to see your guy. As far Donovan's in, which he had 2 hits, and that was great. And that is fun. That is a Cardinal fan. You're like, hell yeah, Brendan Donovan, get it. But when every inning, it's a whole new. It's a whole new pitcher and a whole new set of batters. It doesn't really feel like a game anymore. It's like it is just a series of talent exhibition, which I suppose that's ultimately what it's for. But I think the constant criticism is that it doesn't feel like anyone is playing to win, and that's because none of them have the opportunity to be in long enough to play to win. So maybe that would be part to just get it better. Like the starters are playing 6 innings, let the last 3 innings get kind of wacky and we bring in our guys, but it's probably not going that way. It's going more and more towards exposure and the home run, the swing off as it's called. I have probably an unpopular opinion. I've said this on the show before. I don't know if I actually feel this way, but I'm such not a fan of the place runner, the 10th inning, 11th inning, runner starting on second. To me, that is so anti the point of the game, and also basically makes the game a crapshoot at that point. It's a coin flip. I know that, and the home team has an advantage, a significant advantage, which is fine. Home field normally there's some advantage. This is like a mathematical insane advantage, but it's basically it's all just a coin flip once it gets into extra innings. I've said before, let's just make it a home run derby at the, like do shootouts like goal sports do, and when there's a tie, we just go straight to penalty shots or whatever. And that's essentially what this was. And I don't know. It was kind of fun. Like I watched that part, and like Schwarber hitting 3 in a row was legitimately exciting. I think if it was a real game and I was a fan of that team that lost, I'd be pretty pissed. But like, I don't know. It was a decision made by MLB. Like, what's the most fun way we could deal with a tie? Is a mini home run derby, and I at least appreciate like leaning into fun because I don't know. But thing I thought was funny though. Is that they broke their own rules. They made I saw this going around on the internet. It was like they introduced the swing rule and it says this counts as extra. The MVP of the game will not be selected from the swing off and whatnot. And I think everyone was just so excited about Kyle Schwarber hitting 3 that they forgot about it, and they named him, All-Star MVP or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I get that kind of drama, and I understand. I definitely would not want a regular season game to end that way. I mean,
it's more you like a bunt and then a sacrifice fly and the.
I mean, I don't like that either. I don't like that either. But I do think you at least have a little bit more control over it. Plus the fact that it's all fine and dandy until the batting patch. I mean, the guy's sitting there taking pitches. And hopefully, he swings at enough of them that you get something. I mean, I will say, Schwarber hitting those 3 was pretty impressive. But I don't know. For an all-star game, if you had to do it, okay. I mean, can you imagine? I mean, we already don't put the zombie runner into effect in the postseason.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine a World Series, Game 7 of the World Series going down to a swing off?
Name a more exciting moment, though. You know what I mean? If we're just leaning into, if it's all going to be a crapshoot at the end anyway, let's make it as silly and ridiculous as possible. But I do love that they don't do the zombie runner in the postseason. What a glaring admission that it's a bad rule.
Yeah, I mean, it's terrible. But I will say it's better to have this result than the 2002 results when they tied and Bud Selig just threw up his hand. But
they had a plan at least,
and that was that's really what this has all led to some degree. Because I'll tell you, for me, it used to be you held out a pitcher or 2, somebody didn't pitch, but unfortunately, with what it was, I guess it was 93 when Mike Mussina didn't get into the game in Baltimore because he was playing for Baltimore at the time, and there was a huge uproar about that. And ever since then, it's like that really seemed to set the ball rolling to everybody's got to play.
Yeah. And again, I get it. But I do think it's all these decisions that have led to the game not being a particularly interesting game. And I don't know if they go back, if they fix it, or if they just say, this is what it is. Yeah. And maybe that's what it is. Like it is. It's really fun if you're a team that has a lot of guys in it, and if you don't have a lot of guys, it's just sort of like, well, all right.
Can you imagine if it really? I mean, I know it never will happen again like this because it used to, but it never will now. But can you imagine if you had that, a real starting lineup of both those teams and they played
a real game?
Yeah, a real game. I mean, not your pitcher's probably only going 2 or 3 innings just to minimize problems, but. If you actually played that as a game, I mean, that's what we want to see, right? I mean, if as baseball fans, and I get the All-Star game is marketed to, the casual fan, and I get that. But, if you're a baseball fan, you're like, hey, which of the, the 27 Yankees versus the 61 Yankees would win? That kind of stuff.
Right.
And so now it's like, hey, this is the best team in the National League, the best team in the American League, who would win? And I don't think you get that now, but it's a spectacle, and that's fine as long as you know that going in. And once they took the home field advantage off of it, then you're allowed to do that.
Which was a good decision, but I know what you mean. I think ultimately the World Baseball Classic has basically become what we all kind of want the All-Star game to be, and I'm grateful that we have the World Baseball Classic because it's a ton of fun. All right, let's talk about the Cardinals a little bit more directly, at least. So again, not a lot of news. We are going to talk about their current place in the standings and where we see the next 2 weeks going. But we'd be remiss if we don't at least mention the draft happened this weekend as well, which I also think is a smart move. I think tying it, they've done it a couple of years now, putting it right in the middle of the MLB or during the All-Star break and all that, I think is smart. So they've done some things better at like marketing the teams or marketing the game and whatnot. But of course the MLB draft is always like kind of anticlimactic because most of these guys aren't going to be up for years. But the Cardinals, maybe not so. Maybe for the first time in a while, the Cardinals have selected a guy that we might see in the majors relatively soon. So with the 5th pick, which was their highest pick since 1998 with JD Drew, a very good pick. We'd all be happy with another JD Drew type outcome. The Cardinals selected left-hander Liam Doyle out of Tennessee. So this guy, I'm a big prospect guy, but I have almost like purposefully withheld getting really into college and high school ball. My general take on this stuff is like once they're in the league, I'll get into them. But my baseball obsession, I'm already like knowing the AA starters for the Oakland Athletics and stuff. I don't need to know the college guys and the high school guys. There are people out there that's their thing, and I love it. Good for them. Kyle and others, we need people like that. But for me, this was really like I'd heard the name as I was prepping a little bit for the draft, just for this eventual show that we would be doing. But I didn't really know about this guy until relatively recently. But is pretty exciting. So if you don't know anything about him, he led basically from all of D1 in strikeouts as a starting pitcher. He has a insane fastball. That mid-high 90s. He's not throwing like 104 or anything like that, but has insane movement. And he has a bunch of secondaries, including a splitter, which is okay. Like the general consensus on this guy is that he has like true ace upside because of that fastball. The question is if he will be able to develop his secondaries to a degree that will allow him to fully unlock that potential and be a top of the line starter. But at the very least, it seems like he's going to strike out a lot of guys. And he also very likely will be in the majors sooner rather than later. So, you normally don't draft to need, but this guy could very well be in the rotation next year. He could be competing in spring for a rotation spot, of which there will be many, many available. So Daniel, I know you're not a huge college guy like myself, but were you familiar? He's a Tennessee guy. Were you familiar with Liam Doyle?
I knew some. I mean, I think I'd heard the name, especially, playing the Razorbacks and trying to keep up a little bit with them. And then I had done, I read all the, the articles coming out beforehand. And there were a lot of people that had tied the Cardinals to him, mainly, because the draft threw everybody for a little bit of a wrinkle, especially with Willits going first and then Brimmer going second to the Angels, which nobody saw. But yeah, I think it was, again, that's a very potent arm. I always feel like you and Ben like to rush these guys up to the major leagues. But I do think he's got, he does have that kind of, I don't know that he's got, hey, we're going to start in the majors next year, but, I was reading, the idea that he probably could start in Double-A, and even if he starts in Double-A, that's much farther up the ladder than we've seen out of a draft pick in quite some time. And the whole draft, and I know we're not going to get much into it, but the whole draft brought in some real swing and miss in the guys, the pitchers that they picked. That had, I think everybody, I saw out there that every pitcher they pitched had a 11 or higher strikeout per 9, and it was, it's just,
they finally got the note.
Finally. And so is this the new people coming in and putting their stamp on it? Is it just the fact that Randy Flores kind of got freed up from Gary LaRocque? Who knows? I mean, we'll find out more, but I've, reading everything, and, I have know nothing about anything, but reading everything, it sounds
that's why
like
we have a podcast. None of us know anything about anything.
Exactly. Yeah. The less you know, the more you talk, I think is what, that's why I have too. But everything seems to say that the Cardinals had one of the better drafts that are out there, and probably one of the better drafts that they've had, and they've had some good ones under Flores. So I'm excited to see how these guys. It looked like Doyle must have signed today because he was in Busch Stadium with his Cardinal jerseys and all that stuff. I haven't seen the contract things, but still, he could be. Maybe they go out and he pitches in August in Springfield. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely seemed like a very specific choice from the Cardinals, and a lot of people didn't think Doyle was going to be there at the 5th spot. So that is now 2 drafts in a row where a guy that many think will go top 3 or top 4, falls to the Cardinals. JJ Weatherholt being the example from last year, and that's gone incredibly well. So I'm excited. Randy Flores has done a great job. We're still new in the new regime, but I'm assuming Serfolio and Heim and crew, were a huge part of this decision making. Mozeliak said so much at the Blogger Day that he's like, his focus is on the team right now, and basically everyone else is focused on the team tomorrow. So I assume those guys were involved, pretty top to bottom on this, and if you look at the team, what do they need more than anything right now? It's a frontline starter that they're going to have for a while. And yeah, maybe I'm being a little aggressive, but I don't know. There's guys from the 2024 draft right now already up crushing it, and it's usually the guys that were sort of top of line college guys, because that's to some degree an equivalent of lower minors, and a lot has to go right. Again, some people believe there is some risk with Doyle and whether he will develop those secondaries to a degree that he's an actual long-term consistent starter. So there is, in classic Cardinal form, there's some reliever risk here if he is just a fastball guy, a single pitch guy. But everybody's saying that one pitch is so good, it seems very unlikely that he'll just end up that way.
Well, and I mean, like we said on Sunday night show when we were talking about it on Gateway and Mutual, if he turned into Ryan Helsley, that's still a pretty good darn first pick. I mean, it's not, it's not exactly what you're thinking, but I mean, Kyle, it's always going to tell you if your minor leaguer makes it to the major leagues, it's a success to some degree.
Absolutely,
because this is difficult. So, I think that I think there's a lot to him. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to see that. And I think there's going to be a lot of watching. Like you said, you don't normally draft for need, but like Alan says on our show quite often now, the college game has gotten so, so deep and so developed that it is, like you were saying, much more like a minor league, so that people can take that step and be in the rotation or be in the lineup in the next year. So you can start thinking about need a little bit more when you do this.
Yeah, my assumption is that this was just it kind of came together perfectly, where it was both. I bet Doyle was the top on their draft board from a skills perspective, and also it's what they need. So it kind of works out both ways. Most people had the Cardinals selecting a pitcher at this pick, unless somehow Ethan Holiday fell, but that was never.
Saw a lot of people putting Eli Willits in that spot. Who went 1-1. But I think, if Ethan, I would have been very interesting to see if Doyle and either Willits or Holiday were there, what they would have done. But they might have gone with Doyle.
Yeah. We'll never know. They don't typically just show their draft board after it was done.
No. Here, this is where you are, especially not when you're trying to sign them.
Yeah, right. All right, so let's talk about the current state of the Cardinals a little bit. They are, as we stand Wednesday night, 51-46, 5 games above 500, which is where they've basically been hovering for a week or two now. Mm-hmm. That puts them in third place, 6.5 back of the Cubs, who are being chased down by the Milwaukee Brewers, who are only 1 game back of the Cubs now. And so, as it stands right now, the NL Central is looking like a tough path to the playoffs for the Cardinals, which it was always predicted to be that way. And they are only 1.5 back of a wild card spot. So, I mean, this has been the topic of every podcast and Cardinal blog for weeks now. But the Cardinals are not doing anything to make this decision easier for Mo and co. They're not losing enough to make selling be an obvious choice, but they're not winning enough to make you feel really confident in buying. How are you feeling right now? And what do you think the Cardinals need to do? I guess, from a record standpoint, or maybe just watching them play every day. What do you think they need to do in order to go into the trade deadline and the Cardinals be a buyer?
Oh, for them to be a buyer? They need to win the series against Arizona, maybe sweep the series against Colorado, and then at the minimum split with Padres if they get back, and maybe more like take 3 out of 4, and that's a tough ask. When you go out to Arizona, and again, even as Colorado is terrible, you're going out to Colorado. You never know exactly what's going to happen out there. So, if they split that road trip, I don't know that it matters what you do against San Diego. I think you've got to be selling.
Yeah, I would be surprised if the Cardinals are buyers if they are not actively in a wild card spot at the decision day. I the way they've typically approached things and everything they've said about the intent of this year, if they're even if they're where they are right now, a game and a half back, but in this big mix of all these other teams, I don't think they pull the trigger on buying. So it really seems to me like we're heading towards some degree of sell-off in the next couple weeks, which can be fun as a fan too.
Yeah, we had a good time with it in 23.
Yeah.
We had to because nothing else was going right.
What else are we going to do?
Right. I think the other option is, again, there's this idea of a team that has done so much needs to be rewarded. Mm-hmm. So I could see them even being out of it if they made some sort of small move, some sort of veteran arm that didn't cost them anything to bring it in. But it also may be that they say, hey, we're going to stand pat. And that's your vote of confidence in these people. And again, I don't think it's a good idea. But could you see that? I mean, you could imagine that, right? That they'll say,
of course I can see that. That's will Mozeliak decide ultimately to do nothing? Yeah. What? No way. I don't believe you. There's no way. No, he's a man of action. I get what you mean in regards to saying that is a way to reward the current young players who are driving the success of this team, to say, we're not blowing you up. Let's see where this goes. Let's run it out, and maybe, you guys can make it happen. And certainly there's a part of me, they were in a wild card spot a couple weeks ago. And there's enough of this team that's fun and exciting that, like, well, that might be fun. Like I could have some fun watching that. But I also figure that every other team that is in this hunt is going to add on. And so what are the odds that the current makeup of the Cardinals, which is a team that is in the hunt but is not consistently been in the playoff picture, what are the odds that they're going to also just get so much better than the teams who are going to go out and add on? And I think you'd end up probably just wasting a bunch of resources that could be moved. I know Ben and I talked a little bit last week about, could they do a little bit of A, a little bit of B? And I was very hesitant on that. But I will say this last week, even more so than before, has given me some degree of confidence that possibly the Cardinals could trade both Helsley and Phil Maton and still have a really good bullpen, because the bullpen has been quite good lately. And it's a lot of guys that I think you can believe in, and the Cardinals have for a while. So I don't know. Do you see a world where maybe they trade both those guys, but also say we're you use that to add a starting pitcher or something and push forward?
I mean, I've thought of that at times, but I'm also not 100% sure that this front office creative enough to do that. I think they kind of decided they're going to go one way or another, and they don't want to do the go against it. I would definitely I would think they could do it if they traded Helsley. I don't know about Helsley and Maton. I don't know if that's too much to pull away for. Like I said, unless you're flipping it for a controllable starter, then maybe. But I mean, who you got? Romero, I guess, as your closer probably at that point in time.
Yeah, probably.
Which is not terrible, but I mean, he's definitely been capable of doing that. But yeah, I think I would want to keep one of the two. Just if you're not going to say, okay, we're going to try to maximize our return, I think I'd keep one of the two. But yeah, I mean, maybe. But it'd be very not John Mozeliak to do that.
Yeah. Which, I made this point last week, and it's how I still feel today. Is like I think you could do that. I think you could maybe do a little bit of A and a little bit of B, and trade Ryan Helsley, but also acquire a starter that's good for this year. But I kind of, to what you're getting at here, is I don't have a lot of faith in their ability to do those. And I want them to just make a firm choice in either direction and go all in on that. Like, if this year's a wash, okay, tell us, sell everything that you possibly can, up to and including Arenado if you can, and let's just work on 2026. Like, I think the fan base will get it. I think you could, if with good communication, which is another thing I'm not the most confident in, but like, I think that's been part of the problem too over the last handful of years, is that like their lack of communicating the team's purpose and plan to the fan base, I think is part of the reason why the attendance is down and struggling. If they just said like, we're all in on next year, the second half of the season is about development and making sure Gorman's playing every day and whatnot. I don't think necessarily attendance will go up, but people will respect the clarity. And if you can have some confidence that 2026 is actually going to be a good team, I think, you'd start to see some fan buy-in again.
Maybe, but again, at the end of last year, that's pretty much what they said, right? That they were going to, they were going to trade people off and they were going to, commit to the future. And granted, they didn't because of various things, but
yeah,
people stopped buying tickets and didn't show up. So
because they didn't do what they said.
Well, there's some of that, but I still think that that's the case. I think that I agree with you that I think the fan base is willing to take that on.
Yeah.
And I have thought that they have kind of botched this opportunity because of that. They came out and said, "Hey, we're going to do all this stuff." They could have gotten into a little bit deeper into the cuts. I think Contreras and Gray staying probably threw their plans for a bit of a loop. But I don't know. I think that would be interesting. If you're trading whoever you're going to trade, before it was like a week or so ago, I think. Somebody asked Ollie if they're still evaluating people, and he said, no, they kind of know. They know who they have. They know what they've got. Does that mean that, somebody like Nootbaar or, Gorman's playing well, but does it mean that somebody like Gorman or somebody like that is on the block if they decide to start trading?
I thought that, we didn't talk about it on the show, but I thought that was a very interesting statement. It was also quite surprising because, I know they've got their own metrics and their own way of evaluating players, but I feel like we've had very little questions answered so far this year about like really what is the long-term makeup of this lineup, outside of like, okay, Victor Scott's probably the center fielder and Mason Wynn we know for sure is our shortstop and stuff like that, but still feel like there's a lot to figure out with a bunch of these guys. But apparently not according to them. They've got it all figured out. And we now know Jordan Walker is undergoing yet another swing change operation down in the minors, which apparently isn't going very well. I don't know what to make of any of that. He's fully healed from his appendicitis, which is good. But he's down there, striking out a ton right now. So have they made their decision on him? Is like, I don't know. It's very unclear.
Yeah. I don't. And you start thinking about, okay, Ivan Herrera doesn't look like he's going to catch much anymore. Definitely not this year, and probably not much going forward. You have JJ Weatherholt that is already a AAA and probably is in the mix for next year at some position. We've talked numerous times about how this roster gets crowded very quickly, and it would be an interesting move for them to then take one of those pieces that has some control and flip them into, again, hopefully a starting pitcher that has some control.
Yeah. That's the dream. That's what we've been asking for years, which I know is Like, it's easy for us all to say that. Just go trade these guys for a young, controllable starter, as if that's something that any team wants to trade, But, like, they've got good players that other teams would benefit. And there are teams out there with a surplus of starters.
I mean, Seattle has like 12, right? Isn't that right?
Yeah. Or, like, the, Marlins, like, Philly got it done. Philly went and traded for Jesus Luzardo, and he's had a couple terrible starts, but he's also been really, really good for them. And can you imagine if the Cardinals had Jesus Luzardo this year? How much better would this team be? So, like, other teams have done exactly that, and the Cardinals have not. So I don't know. I'm an optimistic fan. I'm kind of like, this is all very interesting to me this next couple weeks. I just hope that something, I just hope they do something, whether it's sell it all or go all in or whatever. I don't care. I just want them to do something interesting, I guess, is what I'm calling for at this point.
I mean, at the minimum, right? They have to get McGreevy up here.
Yeah.
And find a way, whether that means getting rid of Fetty, whether that means moving one of them to the bullpen, whatever the case may be. I mean, they can't, I mean, that has to happen. I mean, even if they don't do anything else, and if they don't do anything else, I mean, that's not enough, obviously, but that's just like that's like the kind of thing that could happen tomorrow, right? I mean, do you think Fetty makes his next start?
I wasn't certain he was going to make his last one. So it certainly doesn't seem like it's the right move if you're trying to win right now.
That's what Ollie thinks.
I have thought like they might already kind of think they're done, and they're just hoping Fetty makes one or two good starts right before the deadline, and they can ship him for something, I
mean,
but
that's
McGreevy should have been in the rotation, 2 months ago, but
I think about the Fetty thing, especially. I think about, and you're saying it, and just like we've heard, basically it seems like Mo wanted that, and maybe Ollie didn't, is to make him, go out and show that he can pitch one more time. But everybody knows this is not a situation where you're going to surprise some people, or, unless you're trying to trade with Colorado, maybe. But, people know what Eric Fetty has done and what he has done this year. And, unless he just came out with some totally new weapon that you've not seen yet, I can't see how another start builds his value at all. You got to be pretty desperate right now to go after an Eric Fetty.
Yeah, I think the hope would be that you could get him to be flipped for like some sort of low A something or another, the Paul DeYoung trade a couple of years ago, that sort of thing. We're like, well, we'll take
that
a
worked
flyer.
Out.
It did, right? But so you take a flyer on some low A pitcher that the Yankees are looking for a fourth starter or whatever it may be, right? Where they're just like, all right, well, Fetty was good last year, and his last two starts have looked like last year. So maybe, or they're like, we know, you hear this a lot at trade deadlines. Like, we saw a thing in this guy, right? Like, we know a thing they don't know. So we went and got him for cheap. And I don't know. I think that's what you're hoping, because otherwise it's DFA, and you're getting nothing. And do you DFA him, or do you DFA Michaelis? Like, if you're truly done with this year, giving either of those guys starts doesn't make any sense when you've got McGreevy, and waiting, and certainly there's someone else that we could give these innings to. Like, just do bullpen games the rest of the season to just continue to develop the bullpen.
There you go. I think if Michaelis does. We saw him come out and pitch it pretty well last time. He does have that ability to throw a good game here and there, and he's also getting paid a lot more. So Fetty, if you DFA him, it's like $3 million, and it's not a big deal. So I think that's the path of least resistance, and that's usually where the Cardinals go.
Yeah, no, I'm done with like bashing on Michaelis. It is what it is. He's he is who he is, and he's been this way for years. You're either going to get a quality start or you lost the game in the second inning, and you could do worse. But my point is, like, he could be throwing really well all the time, and I'd still say, well, the season is done. he's not going to be here next year. What do we get out of him?
Yeah.
I guess you could argue maybe he pitches so well, you give him a qualifying offer and you hope someone else signs him, but that's not going to happen, right? So, what are we getting out of those innings?
I think the only reason you keep a Michaelis around is because there isn't that other person knocking on the door. If Quinn Matthews had been healthy all year and was looking like he was ready, then you make that move. I mean, Takeo Roby just went back on the injured list, so he's going to be a bit. So there's not that extra person that forces you into that decision, I think.
Yeah, that's true. And they say, you got to have it. You got to get innings. So, all right. Well, I want to talk about the upcoming series. Anything else around this like trade deadline and whatnot you want to talk about?
No, I just, like you said, I think they need to sell. I really do. And I'm hopeful that if they do sell, it doesn't mess with the chemistry that seems to be going pretty well in the clubhouse. Hopefully that won't be a problem. But yeah, I just don't think there's enough in this team. I think somebody pointed out they had a stretch where they won 12 or 13, and other than that, they're like 6 or 7 games under 500. So I just don't know that there's enough here.
It's much like last year. It's almost the same as last year, where they were one of the best teams in baseball in May. And then everything else is just, mediocre or worse. So, and I imagine they can do a lot of moves this deadline without hitting that young and hungry chemistry that we're seeing. Most of that's in the lineup. And, Helsley even said, I'm at winter warm-up, he's like, I'm kind of surprised I'm pitching for the Cardinals this year, so like some of these guys have already mentally, they're like, I know I'm going to be somewhere else at some point. So, but maybe they do a big thing and they trade from the lineup and free up that spot, which it could, impact the vibe. But also the vibe is leading to a right around 500 team. So maybe we don't need to be worried about the vibe too much. I don't know.
I mean, Kelsey's going to worry about it no matter what. So,
and it's, don't get me wrong. I want a good vibe. We watch this thing to have fun. I like a team having fun. But the quickest way to get your team to have fun is for them to win.
Yep.
And, I think maybe you got to mess up the current vibe a little bit because they're not really winning. So, Daniel, it's me and you, but we're sticking with the format of the show. So we're going to talk about some upcoming series, a little league news, and I'm going to test Daniel. I'm going to test him.
You said little league news, and I was like, I mean, that's really, we're really going deep on this show.
I haven't told this on the podcast yet. My daughter plays baseball and she's young, so she's been working her way up, and she's young enough to where like the rules of baseball are very complicated, especially for kids. What's an out, the rules of like ground ball, fly ball, all that stuff. And if you can't really throw the ball across the diamond, most of these rules don't really matter because everyone will just hit all day. So like most of these young leagues, they have like, everyone gets the hit and then they go, and that's it or whatever it is. Right. We thought that's what the league, that we just the next year up in the league. Last year it was coach pitch and it was all that. This year they have their first practice. They go to their first game. My daughter's hitting leadoff. She gets a hit. And the kid on the other team actually managed to field the ball and throw it to first, which was incredible. And they called her out at first. And she's like, what? And like most of the parents were like, what? And they're like, you got to go back. And we learned hilariously on my kid that this season they're doing rules. So we had to like change everything. It had gone from just like, here's how you catch, here's how you throw to first 100% of the time. Like, okay, there's a runner on first, there's a runner on second, there's out at third, out at second, like a
go
kid
home,
got
go home.
Yeah, a kid got an unassisted triple play because no one knows what the fuck they're doing. You know what I mean? Like the ball's hit, they all just start running. the kid actually catches it in air and tags a runner and all. And I'm just like, oh my God, So it's been total chaos because no one knows what they're doing. And almost every inning ends. There's a 5-run rule. And so every game is like, 15-15 at the end. Because, but she is starting to get to the age, especially it's a co-ed league. There, you are starting to see. There's like some of these kids, like, okay. Like, he's like 9, she's younger than that, but like the co-ed and the age groups are wide. So you're like, okay, that kid's actually ripping it, like you can see some of the kids that are like, they're little athletes. And it's interesting to see that development. But
my son played 4 or 5 years. I can't remember what exactly. And I knew what you're talking about, definitely, the 5-run rule, and pretty much everybody gets there or whatever. But the worst is the next year up, the first year of kid pitch when they're pitching themselves, because those are the longest innings ever, because everybody either walks or strikes out on a full count. I mean, it's just maybe somebody gets a hit here and there, but it's just like, oh, this is forever, 2 innings in an hour.
Yeah, well, I do know what you mean, because these only had a few games, but one of the games we went to, the other team, they had like a kid who was a catcher with full gear, and they had a kid who was pitching, and we're like, what? Most of the kids can't throw the ball that far, and this kid's pitching, and he also hit my daughter with a pitch, which she didn't know what that meant. Because we hadn't gotten to that in the rule, because it had been coach pitching underhand from like 15 feet away until this game. And we're like, can they do that? And they're like, well, if they want to. So, it's been a mess, but it's been pretty funny also. All right. So we're going to talk about all that other stuff. Thanks for the little tangent. But before we do, Daniel, can you tell our listeners about your content and where they can find you?
Yeah, because I can't remember all y'all stuff anymore. I used to do that. You can find me on Twitter at C70. I'm on Blue Sky at C70 as well. Substack is cardinal70.substack.com. You've got the 2 podcasts. You probably know that. Mutual, Meet Me Mutual, and Gateway to Baseball Heaven. Pretty much if you follow me, pretty much on Twitter, probably on Blue Sky, you'll see the links, and I'm dropping them in the Discord as well.
All right. Yeah. Definitely recommend both shows. Always a good listen. Every once in a while I'm on that show with you, not Ben, because
not
again,
Ben. No,
the hatred.
Right. We can't do it.
Yeah. The steaming hatred.
The man had to
between
go all the way to Canada to get away from me. So.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why he's up there. Just like probably just cowering, just cowering somewhere.
I believe that over fishing.
But if you want to support him and me in the creation of this show, you may consider joining our Patreon, patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. Patrons of any level get access to our private Discord server. It's the Bird Scored. Daniel's in there. We're always having a good time in the Bird Scored, talking about the Cardinals, talking about the league, sort of live chatting games and with the trade deadline and all that. People are posting all the various articles from around the league. It's a good spot to get up-to-date Cardinal information and hang out with other people in the community. Shout out to the current Bird Scored. Also, shout out to friend of the show, Charlie, who sent me a bunch of recommendations for Savannah. It's where I just spent the last week in Savannah. I actually got my, I got a little, where is it? Savannah Bananas sticker while I was down there. You see that, Daniel? I'm holding this
nice.
Up. Yeah. I'm seeing them on Friday night here at Busch. I'm going to go see the Bananas. So
that'll be great.
I'm excited for it. I'll talk all about it next week. But anyway, patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds. Also appreciate anyone who takes a moment to leave a review on their favorite podcast platform. That helps a ton. You can check us out on YouTube. You can check us out on Spotify. We're on basically everything. You're listening to it now, but we are doing full video on YouTube now, so that might be worth checking out.
I'm not on the video.
No,
so
Dan,
you're safe. You're all right.
You'll see a little image. Maybe I should put something funny on there for you. What should I put? I'll think.
So you want me to send a picture then? Okay, I see how it is.
And all of our links to everything can be found at talkingaboutbirds.com. And please never forget, hashtag never forget, that you can call us at 848-48-BIRDS. That's 848 482-4737. That's what our Hambo normally says. Okay. As you mentioned earlier, the Cardinals are about to go to Arizona. In our house, we call them the Butts and Cracks. Arizona is a team that they're in the same sort of stew that the Cardinals are in, as far as chasing down a wild card spot. They're pretty much done from the division, and many might even say they're done from the wild card. But they were a team with high expectations this year and have a lot of upside, but it just hasn't gone exactly the way they would want. But when you talk about, upside, they've got Corbin Carroll, Ketel Marte, Eugenio Suarez is hitting a million home runs. That's what he does. Josh Naylor is a real, he's continuing his breakout from last year. It's a really, really deep lineup that can really do some damage. It's mostly been their pitching and bullpen that has been the problem, not unlike the Cardinals. So I don't know. Have you watched many games of the Diamondbacks this year? How are you feeling about the Cardinals against the Diamondbacks?
I haven't seen a lot of them.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be interesting. I mean, because they are a team, like you said, that have some pieces that people are talking about getting moved, Suarez and others. And, do they get active early, or is it most likely it's after the Cardinals go through town? So you'll have to deal with all those people. But I think that's something to watch. And again, a Cardinals come in and win 2 out of 3. That may just completely, jumpstart their selling. I think it could be interesting. I don't know. I should have looked it up because I know Ben usually does. I don't know if they get to see Gallon or not. But
I can tell you, we've got the first is all projected, of course, but this is the first weekend after the break, so this is usually pretty accurate. It'll be Merrill Kelly against Sonny Gray. Kelly, a trade target in his own right. Some have thought maybe the Cardinals would go after Merrill Kelly if they are buyers. Definitely an age appropriate target for the Cardinals. Then we see Zach Gallen against Miles Michaelis, and then Eduardo Rodriguez against Eric Fetty. So
maybe,
maybe. It's like a bunch of the same kind of guys, except for the Cardinals have Sonny Gray. But everyone knows Zach Gallen, but he's not having this season that, he really has been like a mid-rotation guy for a few years now. He can certainly still put up a good game, but he gets beat up too. Eduardo Rodriguez, another interesting guy, at times in his career has looked like the next guy, but has dealt with health issues and all sorts of things. So, it's in Arizona. This feels like the type of game where, outside of maybe the Sonny Gray game, you're hoping the Cardinals are winning 8-5, that sort of thing.
Yeah. Especially on that. Yeah. Out there.
Yeah. I you might be right with the Diamondbacks. I was just pulling it up. Like, if you're the Diamondbacks and you are still holding out a little bit of hope for a wild card spot this year, which they are currently 5.5 back of a wild card spot, putting them 4 games back of the Cardinals, and you lose 2 of 3 against a team that is above you in the standings, but also isn't in the wild card spot. You got to feel pretty bad, right? So it's always interesting to see what teams pull the trigger first. And they have some really valuable assets. So they would, there's often a benefit to the team that moves first. We'll see. So, after that, the Cardinals go to Colorado. As you mentioned before, unfortunately, for many, many years in a row, I was going out to Colorado every year. But the way the scheduling worked out this year and last year, it just hasn't been a good time for me to go out there. So I won't be out there, which is a bummer. I always like to see them at Coors. Of course, Ben's not here to talk about the Rockies on the episode where we're playing
let's be
them.
Fair, y'all have seen each other a lot this year, so it's probably for the best if you don't have to deal with him.
Yeah, probably too much, frankly. Yeah. He's gonna be here again in like 3 weeks. I know it drives him crazy. He comes out here all the time.
Yeah, the Rockies are bad. I think that's really all we have to say. That's really, I mean, I would know I was on the show last year when we were talking about the White Sox and their chase for history. And so I've been watching the Rockies do their thing as well. And they played a little bit better as of late, but it's 22 wins at the All-Star break, which are great. And this is even worse because the All-Star break is like 3 weeks later than it usually is. So,
yes.
There's a third of the season left, basically, and you're at 22 wins. It's going to be, I mean, not impossible, but it'll be really hard for them to get to 40 wins this year, isn't it?
Yeah. And so here's a fun way to look at the Rockies. So currently in all of baseball, the Rockies are last in OBP, ERA, WHIP, K per 9, hits per 9. They are last in MLB in all of that. The only things that they are above the 25th in MLB is home runs and stolen bases. Everything else, they are between 26th and 30th. So this is a bad team that is playing poorly and is, I mean, I would argue that they were a worse team than the White Sox last year. Just the White Sox had some sort of unholy magic that led to them having such bad outcomes 100% of the time. There's a few guys on this team that like are kind of interesting in their own right. Hunter Goodman is having a real breakout. He looks pretty good. Ryan McMahon is doing what he does. He's hitting home runs. Tyler Freeman is healthy and is hitting for average. Jordan Beck looks like he might be okay. But really grasping at straws here. And as I said before, they're last in almost every single pitching category. So there's just not much going on in their rotation or in their bullpen.
Now, it's also fair to say that last year the White Sox were, won 40, 41 games, but the only road series they won was against St. Louis. Just because the Rockies are terrible doesn't mean that they won't find the wrong time to win 2 out of 3 and put things down. I don't think we'd expect that, but especially since you don't have Michaelis or Fetty going in that series, so that would be helpful.
So the projected matchups are Austin Gomber against Matthew Liberatore. So we would certainly hope that will go well. Bradley Blaylock, a name that I think I'm reading for the first time ever, against Andre Palante, who we have not yet really dug back in on. He is really seemingly turning things around, which is good. We've had a lot of gripes about his year and concerns about it. I haven't dug enough into the numbers right now to understand if this is just, good results off of the same process or if there's been a meaningful change. But we'll certainly take it. So we'll probably do a future episode, deeper dive on Palante. And then longtime Rockies ace Kyle Freeland will be up against Sonny Gray. So you certainly like all the pitching matchups. You like the lineup matchup. Every team matches up well against the Rockies, but it's Colorado. Couple big home runs. Any game can go either way. I'm really hoping for like a Gorman explosion. You know what I mean? Like we might call it like a Gorman massacre.
Yeah, I think that's obviously what you'd call it, because the Galaxy is watching. So.
I haven't finished the season yet, so don't no spoilers, please. I had to go spend a week with my family instead of watching Andor.
I mean, if you've got your priorities messed up, it's not my problem.
I agree, but I kind of think it's your problem. I feel like you did this to me. So anyway, this is 2 series against 2 teams that are below the Cardinals in the standings, one significantly more than the others, but still 2 teams that have struggled this year. if the Cardinals have any hope of being buyers at the deadline, like you said, you got to win probably 5 of the 6 to even still be in the conversation.
I mean, at least 4. You can't. But I think 5 would be better. Yeah.
Yeah, 6 would be even better.
Well, yeah,
look at us.
That's asking a lot, but we can do it.
Look at
In
us
fact,
counting.
if they could win 7 of the 6,
dude,
then we're on to something.
Why hasn't anyone ever thought about that?
I don't know. You'd think.
You just blew my mind. All right, we are going to just do a couple bits of league news. This is a tight episode. I don't care about Ben's time. I care about Daniel's time though, and I'm respecting it this evening because he's here with me late on a Wednesday night. So we're pushing through this. So a little bit of league news. We kind of talked about the festivities a little bit, but we did not talk about Kyle Raleigh. He did win the home run derby. The big dumper himself, just having a season for the ages. You know, he's having a season that the comps, people are having to go to peak Barry Bonds to really have similar, stories. And it's just incredible. I mean, the guy's 25, he hits from both sides. He's a good catcher. Like this is he broke out last year, but this is now a breakout of is Kyle Raleigh one of the best players in baseball? And it certainly kind of feels like it. If it weren't for Aaron Judge, he'd be right now the front runner for the MVP, and it probably wouldn't even be close. But of course, there's Aaron Judge.
Yeah. Did you see the little clip they had out? Somebody had it on Twitter of him at 8, 9, 10 years old. And it's in the backyard, and he's like, "Hey, I just won the home run derby." And
I did not.
Like
I did
kids
not see
do.
that.
So I think his brother posted it after he did that. So that was always kind of fun.
Yeah, that was fun. And they had his dad was throwing the pitches. Mm-hmm. His little brother was the catcher. Is a very wholesome. He seems like a good guy. I never want to get. You never want to get too close to any of these guys, but he seems like a good guy, which is nice. And I don't know, it's kind of fun. He's in the middle of a massive power season. He's 38 home runs before the All-Star break, something like that. And he just strolls into the home run derby and crushes that. I mean, I know he squeaked by. I kind of feel like it was all made up just to get him to move forward, but he got ahead by a tenth of an inch.
I saw something about that. Yeah.
Which is, I mean, come on.
Like they can judge it that close. Yeah,
they're not. Yeah. I think that my guess is that it was tied, and they're like, well, we want Kyle Raleigh in the next round. I'm not conspiratorial minded, but I think they made a choice, and then frankly, it was a good choice because Kyle Raleigh is a lot of fun.
And then I read, I think he got a single in the All-Star game itself, which is his first non-home run hit of July. So that's insane.
Of course, yeah. I mean, he kind of does it all. I saw it was it was a tweet or whatever from Vinny Pasquantino. He's like, sure, the guy's 25, can hit from both sides, hits for power, and plays the hardest position in baseball. He's like, get the hell out of here or something like that. Just being pissed, just being pissed at how awesome Kyle Raleigh is. And I know you didn't watch it, but I'll tell you what, the broadcast and everybody certainly loves saying the big dumper.
Oh,
I do too. The amount of times they basically just referred to him as the big dumper, and I think it's great. I think we need more nicknames like the big dumper in baseball. That's what it's missing. All right,
no arguments.
All right. The only other little bit of news, I think this is interesting. We've been talking about it a little bit, but it's moving forward. Stuart Sternberg has agreed to sell the Rays to Patrick Zalupski, which is expected to be finalized by September. So this thing is happening. It's Patrick Zalupski is part of a group. It's always big groups that buy these things, but he's the sort of the face of it. And it's happening and it's moving quickly. It'll be done by September. And Patrick, he wants to keep the team in Tampa. He wants to move it to Tampa Bay proper. So I don't know. I mean, I don't. At the end of the day, these guys are all, the vast majority of them is just another line item, and they're just trying to maximize profits. But I am a supporter of them trying to stay in Tampa Bay and move into Tampa Bay proper with a new stadium. So that seems much better than what the current ownership has done. And I'm just hopeful that the Rays, who have clearly had fantastic player development core and like a whole bunch of really smart baseball people, but no real support from like the high level. I'm really hopeful that they're rewarded now, and it's an actual organization that is you know well funded and prioritizes winning when they have a good team.
Yeah, it'd be good. That's the situation for the next couple of years still seems to be interesting because I haven't heard anything about the repairs going on at the Tropicana Dome. So, I know there's a lot of money, a lot of discussion about whether they would, even would repair it and all that kind of stuff. So, where are the Rays going to play next year? But yeah, it's a good thing. I mean, it's always good to get these kind of things settled. Manfred at the All-Star break game also said that the Twins would probably be sold fairly soon. He thought that would happen. So it really is getting to that point where the teams that are up for sale are getting sold, and the teams that are without stadiums are at least in the process of getting them.
Yeah.
Whatever you believe about Las Vegas and all that kind of stuff. Again, maybe you're getting a little bit, a couple steps. I don't think you see anything about expansion until after the work stoppage that's probably coming, but you're getting at least steps closer to that.
Yeah. There's so much in between that and now. We keep mentioning the likely strike that's coming up, and who knows what the season next year looks like and baseball looks like after it. But this moment, this decision seems good. I hope that this guy, I don't know a lot about him and the crew that bought it, but I hope that they are an ownership group that actually wants to have a good baseball team and not just like, the Pirates or any other number of organizations where it's just probably it's just like a giant tax break, basically. Yeah.
Also, maybe you've got it on your list, but there was a trade today. So,
the Fraley or Frazier?
Adam Frazier. Yeah, Adam Frazier goes to Royals. You've kind of broken the seal a little bit. I mean, on what the trade deadline looks like.
Yeah, that was actually my last bit was, long time, Cardinal fans. We've seen Adam Frazier his entire career, ups and downs, but a pretty good player. So he's been traded. And, is this the opening salvo of the trade deadline? I don't know. There's always these little moves like this around this time. But yeah, it's, the Pirates getting worse.
Yeah. That's fine. We can.
Yeah.
We would not know what to do if they got better, right? So.
No, I mean, it was terrifying those couple of years when they were good.
Yeah.
Remember all that? Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think Andrew McCutchen is a Hall of Famer? Would you vote for him if you had a vote?
Y'all had a good discussion about that. A couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would. I mean, you'd have to look at the case, I guess, when it's done. But I don't. He had a really nice streak, but he's never been like the best player in baseball or anything like that, and he's always been very good. But I feel like he's probably a little bit short, although obviously he's a Pittsburgh Pirate Hall of Famer.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, there's a couple names you maybe put over him. One has a bridge named after him, but after that you start to, it's like he's inner circle Pirates Hall of Fame, right? Like yeah. All right, Daniel, we're going to wrap up this episode. It's a game we've played a lot on this show, but I don't think I've ever played it directly with you. I think we even played it last week. I'm going to test you in another round of Who Is This Guy? So Daniel was talking at Blogger Day, that he plays along and sometimes he beats Ben. So I thought I'd test him here. So if you are new to the show, the way this game works is I have a name of a player who at some point in their career played Major League Baseball for the St. Louis Cardinals. I'm going to give Daniel clues that start very vague and get increasingly specific. Daniel makes a guess after every clue, and his goal is to get it as quickly as possible. Daniel, are you ready?
Probably not. But we'll do it anyway.
All right. This player was born on September 22nd, 1970 in Columbus, Ohio.
Okay, well, that means he's older than me. That's always nice. 70. Columbus, Ohio. Man, I don't know. Let's see. Figure it's going to be.
If you want to throw in a skip, you can. I like to push for a guess. But
I will say Ray Langford because I know that's not right.
I slapped 5 with Ray Langford a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
It is not Ray Langford.
I know.
Okay. This player played for, in no particular order, St. Louis, Milwaukee, the Giants, and the Blue Jays.
Milwaukee, the Giants, and the Blue Jays. This kind of actually sounds like I should know this. And
I mean, you definitely know who this guy is.
Oh, I'm sure I do. It'll be the 5th clue when I figure it out, but I will.
The first 2 are always the most. I mean, these are the hardest ones. I would never get it off of these. That's not how my brain works for baseball players. Ben somehow remembers things like this.
Yeah. He seems to know where everybody's born. I don't know.
I never know any of it.
Let's see. Okay. 70 means that he would have been playing probably early to mid 90s. Giants, Blue Jays. Oh, I should know this. That's not right either. That's not right. Great radio here. I will say, even though I know it's not right, Bernard Gilkey.
Good guess, but no, that is not correct.
He didn't play. He didn't play for the Mets, so I knew that wasn't right. But
I didn't say Mets.
I know you didn't. That's why I knew it wasn't right.
Oh, I see. Okay, yeah, all right. Okay, get more specific here. This player was drafted by the Blue Jays in the 31st round of the 1988 MLB June amateur draft. But he declined and then was drafted by the Brewers in the 8th round of the 1991 June amateur draft. He was then signed as a free agent by St. Louis in 1999. That is how he made his way to the St. Louis Cardinals. Free agent signing in 1999.
99 from the Brewers. Jeff Suppan?
No, you're getting closer, though. You're getting into the era.
Goodness gracious.
All right, here we go. 4th clue. Won 3 gold gloves for the Cardinals before turning over the position to one of the greatest of all time.
Won 3 gold gloves for the Cardinals. I feel so stupid.
It's always hard when you're in the seat.
I know it is.
I mean,
I'm usually in the car yelling at me, and now he's probably yelling at me from Canada or something.
Yeah, probably. We are live streaming to all of Canada right now.
Yes. All 5 people that are up there.
Yep.
Man, I kind of wanted to say, but that didn't make sense. No, that didn't work either. Who came from the Brewers? Why stupid Brewers?
It's almost funny how forgettable this guy is in a way.
Yeah,
I'll read the clue again because there's a second part of that you may want to focus on. Yeah. Won 3 gold gloves for the Cardinals before turning over the position to one of the greatest of all time.
Oh, Mike Matheny.
There you go, Mike Matheny. All right.
I was thinking like shorts. I was like, no, Clayton came after Ozzie, all that, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Mike Matheny. So I had 2 more clues for you. If we didn't get there, said despite having a winning percentage higher than Tony La Russa, this player turned manager is not known by fans as a successful Cardinal manager.
That's an understatement, but yes.
And then, still be nice to him. And then finally, once got hit in the face by a fastball and walked it off.
Oh, yeah. I forget that. I really forget that Matheny was a Brewer.
Me too.
He didn't really show up on my radar until after he was in St. Louis. So,
yeah.
Okay, well, at least I got one before it went completely melt that down.
And I even forget that he won 3 Gold Gloves in a row as a Cardinal too, and then Yachty comes around and like, this guy's good.
Right. And before him, Tom Pagnozzi won, I think, a couple at catcher, so they've had, and then of course, you've had Ted Simmons and stuff like that. I mean, Cardinals, and we know what the Cardinal catching selection looks like now, right? I mean, make the whole team out of catchers, but,
yeah, we had a 3-catcher lineup the other day. The bird squad was going nuts. It's interesting too, because the Cardinals have kind of openly admitted that they kind of stopped worrying about developing catchers for a decade because of Yachty. And yet here we are, and you saw that problem for the 2, in 22 or so, when it was who is actually going to play catcher because Yachty's running a basketball team or whatever it is that he's doing. But once they refocused on it, now we don't know what to do with all the damn catchers. So there's something in the water here that just produces good catchers.
I guess so. And I mean, even when they weren't worrying about it, Carson Kelly came up and is still playing in the major leagues.
He's still out there. He's having a good season,
Unfortunately for the Cubs, but
Andrew Kisner is playing right now. Well, not right now, but he is on a team getting major league at bats. So
yeah, and I wonder, with him especially, what would these guys have been if they'd had more time?
Yeah,
in that development time in the major leagues, but they still obviously were good enough.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's an interesting thing to watch that line sort through.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Daniel, thank you so much for joining me again this week. I really appreciate your time, and we'll have to have you back on sometime, but again, not when Ben is here. I think that's just
it's just always better that way. Hopefully Ben comes back from Canada not eaten by a bear or anything of that nature.
Yeah,
and y'all can have a great show next week. But I always enjoy coming on. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks again. And if you're still listening, thank you for being here and listening to the show. Check out all our links at talkingaboutbirds.com. Consider the Patreon, and we will be back next week, as always, with another episode of Talking About Birds. And until then, go Cardinals. Bye.
Talking about